Good morning! Last week I made a video going over all the skilling changes that came with Project Rebalance. Well, with today's update, they've added even more things and changed some things from last week, and today I wanted to go over all the changes. Here's the news post. This is specifically for skilling Project Rebalance. They haven't done anything with the combat-related Project Rebalance stuff yet, and besides for Project Rebalance this week, there's also some Varlamore changes. So we're gonna just go through the list one by one of all the changes. It's not as big of a news post as last week, but the first thing on the list, which I'm personally most excited for because I train a lot of Slayer, is that if you have a stored task, you can now freely swap between your stored task and your current task. But you do have to unlock it for 1000 Slayer points. Let's take a look at how this works. First thing to mention is that to unlock the ability to store tasks in the first place, you have to spend 1000 Slayer points. Yeah, for this thing right here, task storage, that has not changed. You still have to pay 1000 points to unlock task storage, but originally if you wanted to store a task, it cost 50 Slayer points to do so. It was free to unstore it, but it cost points to store it. But with the Project Rebalance update from last week, they made it free to store a task. However, you could not unstore a task if you had a current active Slayer task. Perfect example right here. I got a D-case task I didn't feel like doing at the time, so I stored it. I did some Slayer. I currently have a task, but now, even while I currently have a task, I feel like doing my D-case task. But there'd be no way to unstore my stored task unless I didn't currently have a task. So previously, I would have to either complete or cancel my Dust Devils task if I wanted to do my stored one. In fact, before today, this text right here used to say unstore task, but of course, with today's update, it now says swap. Let's see what happens if I try to swap. Your current task will be stored. You may unstore it if you do not have an active task, or swap it with any other active task you have currently. If it's free, I don't see the point of having this message here, right? So cool, these two have swapped. No Slayer points have been spent. The warning message seems a bit unnecessary. I could understand having it once, but maybe there should be a checkbox to not have that message every time. The way I read the news post was that you had to spend 1000 points for task storage and then another 1000 points if you want to freely swap your current task with your stored task back and forth. That is not the case. The ability to swap between your two tasks comes with it. You can essentially have two Slayer tasks at once, even if you can't do them at once, whereas before you kind of had to do only one at a time. Just to be clear, if you do have two of the same task, like if I had Dust Devils stored and I had a current task of Dust Devils, I would not be getting both tasks done at the same time. I'd only be getting my current tasks done. Moving on from Slayer, next we have Thieving. Last week they added medium, hard, and elite clues to gnomes, paladins, and heroes respectively, and with this week's update, they've made them more common to get. You can see what the original rates were changed to the new rates from this week's update. On top of that, they also reduced the fail rate to pickpocket these NPCs, which means you'll get more thieving XP per hour and more clue scrolls per hour on average. I'm really curious, with the gnomes especially giving medium clues 1 out of 150, I might test that out in another video. I even heard that this might be pretty close to the thieving XP you get from Arty Knights. Those are like, well, depending on your thieving level, up to 250k XP per hour, maybe more realistically 200k per hour. And I heard that gnomes supposedly might be pretty close to that, but again, this update just happened in the last few hours, so that might not be the case. Let's say supposedly the gnomes are 200k XP per hour and Arty Knights at max efficiency are 250k XP per hour. You're sacrificing 50k XP per hour, but you get a few clues per hour with the gnomes, which as an Iron Man especially, that could be very important if you're hunting rangers, or even just decent GP as a main, or if you like collection log. In terms of loot, with Arty Knights at max efficiency, you'd be getting 300k raw GP per hour, but if you look at the drop table for thieving gnomes, you do still get some GP, about a 1 in 4.2 chance to get 300 GP. Yeah, besides the medium clues, the coins are really probably the only other important item you get as loot, mainly because they're stackable. Well, Earth Runes are too, but you get one out of 25, so not really worth mentioning. Anyways, let's get back to the news post. Where was it? Okay. Moving on from Thieving, here's Agility. In the previous week's update video, I went over the changes to the Brimhaven Agility Arena, how you get 1 Agility Arena ticket and 1 Brimhaven voucher for each pillar that you tag. With this week's update, you can now convert the Agility Arena tickets, which are the XP giving tickets, you can now convert them into Brimhaven vouchers, which is what you trade in for the collection log stuff. Does that mean that the Brimhaven Agility collection log is now twice as fast fast to get done. Well, right here it does say old agility arena tickets. Does that mean you could only use the old tickets from before the update to get Brimhaven vouchers? Or does that really mean that now we get 2 Brimhaven vouchers per tag if we want? Let's find out. I was standing outside at this lobby area, and I see people going in and out. A lot of Max Cape people going down into the ladder here. So I was asked, hello, do you want in on the tech? Here's okay, we're gonna, let's go down. So an alt is going in. Oh, I think I see what's going on here. So we're gonna tag the pillar. We get 1 of each of the tickets, and then teleport. Wait, which option was it? Oh, option 6 to teleport back with the diary cape up here. And then you do have to pay each time. I feel like someday they're gonna add an ability to unlock permanent access. It seems only natural with all the other stuff in the game. Then we climb back down. Okay, wait, can I just tag the same pillar again? So we have 60 seconds to tag the pillar before it moves. Let's see. Oh my god. And then option 6 to teleport back. No way. And we'll pay, go back down, and do that again. Whoa. So if it's not in the first 4 quadrants, tell you out, alt is just to hold spawn. So it sounds like if no one is in the lair, then the pillar moves when a new person goes into the lair. Well, it was fun to try out and see how this method works, which I'm sure is gonna get patched very soon. I don't need to do it though. I already have the collection log done, so it doesn't matter for me. But I do want to see if I could trade in these agility arena tickets. Or no, I think you use them. Okay, so it doesn't work for these. It says nothing interesting happened. So it must just be for the old agility arena tickets if you got them before this update with the vouchers came to the game. So it's not in fact twice as fast to get this log done. But it actually might be if they don't if they don't change this thing and you happen to have the diary cape. They will change it though. I did want to try this out in a separate world just to make sure I understand exactly how this method works and to make sure I understand it correctly. So if I go in with this account, the pillar's over there. Now, if I leave again and I pay and go back in, is the pillar going to be... Oh, wait. Okay, so on my alt account right now, the pillar is in that spot. If I were to, say, log out and then go in with this account, the pillar is in the same spot. How did they get the pillar to... Also, is there going to be the 1 minute cooldown wait timer? Okay, even when you log off, you still have to wait a minute. Oh, just got patched. Wow, that's crazy timing in like the 5 minutes that it took me to record this. Oh, that's funny. Wait, I want to go back to, what world was I on? I think this one. I want to see if anyone's going to say anything to me like, bro, you ruined our method, even though I haven't made a video yet. Yep, it's patched. Yeah, I saw that there's no one going in or out. No one else was here anymore, so I refreshed the news post and then searched for Brimhaven to see if they would mention it anywhere. Because usually they mention any hotfixes or changes that they make, but no, they just quietly fixed this one. They did not mention it anywhere in yeah, well, yeah, I would say it right here in the hotfixes. They did not mention it in here. Okay, back to the update. Tagging the ticket dispensers for like the first day, it was broken. It wasn't giving the right amount, but very shortly after it was hotfixed. You get the proper amount now. I don't know if you noticed. I was getting 270 XP for each time I tagged the pillar. Compared to last week before they fixed it, I only got 27 XP from tagging the pillar. They've removed 2 more fail points from these agility courses, which will make doing them slightly less annoying. And then for the last thing, we've altered the fence next to the Taverley tree patch to allow easier access to the new shortcut. With the update from last week, they added this shortcut to get over the Taverley wall. So instead of having to run all the way over to the gate, if you have level 66 agility, you can now climb over these rocks to get to the tree patch a little bit faster, or maybe get to the balloon transport system a little bit faster. The problem though, last week before this update, is that this fence was closed off. So even if you took this shortcut, you'd still have to run around this way anyways to get into the tree patch. So it didn't really do anything. But over the last week, players have rallied together and demanded from Elaine. We said, Elaine, tear down this fence. And and we did it. So good job, people. And after agility, we have mining. So they stopped the mining gloves from working on sandstone and granite because they were super OP. Their simple fix for now was preventing them from working, but they said that we're actively discussing how to best balance this interaction in the future. Maybe in the future they'll add some kind of reduced functionality for mining gloves to have some kind of effect at sandstone and granite, but it doesn't do anything for now. This isn't even an update from this week. This was a hotfix that they made the day after the previous update came out, which I did mention in a pinned comment in the last Rebalance update video that I made, but I know not everyone, of course, saw that comment. So just to reiterate right here, the mining gloves do not currently work with sandstone/granite. Anyways, in more important mining news, a sound now plays when amethyst crystals fully deplete. That's all for the skilling Project Rebalance updates and news. The other part of the news post is related to Varlamore. The main part of this Varlamore update is regarding Hunters Rumours. They've taken feedback into account regarding the creatures that you can get as tasks from each of the different rumor masters, and they're removing the most blocked rumors from adept and expert tiers. I find it really interesting that they mention blocked, because blocking isn't like an official part of the game. It's a thing that players kind of figured out. And I find it really neat that it's become such a well-known thing that Jagex is just kind of rolling with it and calling it like your blocks. So if you're a Hunter Rumor doer, then it might be worth taking a look at this list to see what's been added and what's removed, and according to them, rejig your block lists accordingly. And they make it sound like this will be the final time that they're going to make changes to the Hunters Rumors, or at least the tasks that you can get or not get from them. It'll be the last one until the next one. Just kidding. Probably. There's nothing too important in the smaller fixes section. There was an easy clue step that had you go into the basement of the Hunters Guild, which required 46 Hunter, but now it has you go to the top of the guild, which does not have a level requirement. I haven't even gone that clue step since that came into the game, but I saw on the wiki page for easy clues it hasn't been updated yet, so I was able to see that this step was what it was before. And in this final section, the other changes section, there is two things I want to point out here. The first thing is that Revenant Imps, Goblins, and Hobgoblins can now drop their respective champion scrolls, but the Revenant Demon will not drop the Lesser Demon scroll because it's a greater demon, not the Lesser Demon. If you're going for the Champion's Cape and you don't have these 3 scrolls yet, it could be worth going for them at Revenants to get some better loot than you would get otherwise. And the other thing is that if you've completed the Hard Wildy Diary, you can now sell your ecumenical keys to the Lesser Fanatic in Edgeville for 61.5k. I do have the Wildy Hard Diary done, so I'm going to try this. I hope it doesn't actually trade in the key because I don't want to trade it in for GP. I just want to see what kind of message you get. You try to. Okay, so you do get a warning message. Ecumenical keys were released in March of 2014, and there's been a lot of updates / changes to them throughout the years, mainly making them easier to get through diaries, combat achievements, so on. But there was one thing about them, the fact that you could alch them for 61.5k. Up until this update in January of 2023, but it had been that way for like 9 years. The reason why they got rid of the ability to alch them is because there are a lot of bots that would go to the Wildy God Wars dungeon and kill the imps and then alch the keys and spawn GP into the game that way. The thing is though, it wasn't even that much GP per hour in the first place doing that method. It was maybe like 300k GP per hour, but bots I would assume would probably have less stats. Like if a bot is doing this method for GP, it probably doesn't have that good of stats, because if the bot had better stats, it'd be doing a method that would make more than 300k GP per hour. But either way, you do have to have the Hard Wildy Diary now to even be able to do this method. But by the time you have the Hard Wildy Diary done, you probably have access to better methods than 300k GP per hour. So what's the point of this update then if it's locked behind the Wildy Hard Diary, which means bots and normal players wouldn't do it since there's way better moneymakers you can do with these requirements? Boom, there's your answer. Ecumenical key shards. It takes 50 of these shards and you can make an ecumenical key out of them, and the only thing that drops these is Nex. I haven't even done that much Nex myself, and I think I have a pretty decent amount of shards. Yeah, I mean, it's almost 2 keys right there. My first like 15 to 20 Nex were all on masses, so I've really only done like maybe 30 actual small team Nex cases, which was, I don't know, like 2 days of kind of casually doing Nex. So I would imagine that the people that are actually grinding out the drops probably have a lot of those shards, And I'm sure there's a chunk of people that don't plan to do any of the main 4 God Wars bosses for whatever reason, if they're green logged or they're just a main account, they only care about GP. So it's nice those people have a use for those keys now. They can get a little bit of GP back and make up for the supplies used at next. Or maybe for one of Link's ocarinas and Rarg's next challenges, one of them will go to the Wildy God Wars dungeon to try and get one of those keys. And that's it really for this week's update. There's some merch update, there's some key rings, there's a new book, the RuneScape Gift to Guthix, a reminder about the RuneScape official cookbook. Actually, there was one more thing I wanted to talk about, which was an update on Runefest tickets. There were originally 2,000 tickets that went for sale like 6 weeks ago, and those sold out within like 3 minutes. But from this news post on May 7th, Jagex announced that they were able to get an additional 1,000 tickets and that they would go for sale 5 p.m. British time Wednesday, May 15th. But there is an update to this news post on May 14th that said due to unforeseen circumstances, they're going to have to postpone the sale of Runefest tickets. They did not list a reason on the news post. They just said due to unforeseen circumstances. But that's what I'm here for. I'm here to show you why they've been postponed. For a little background about Runefest, it has been 5 years since the last one. They had it in 2019, and then in 2020 it was canceled due to and then they never brought it back again until this year, 2024. However, Jagex did not get their own venue for this year. Instead, they were going to have it at Insomnia, which is a UK gaming festival. So there's going to be like a separate section for all the RuneScape stuff. Obviously, I don't know all the information about costs and whatnot, but my speculation would be that it was a way to save money, and also due to the uncertainty that because it's been so long that they've had the RuneFest, that they wouldn't know exactly how many players would be interested. Needless to say, there's a lot more interest than expected, seeing as how fast the tickets sold out. The original tickets sold out so fast that people were convinced that it was all bots buying them out for scalping. And because so many people thought that, Jagex decided to address it in this news post. They said that 95% of all purchases were for either 1 or 2 tickets, and only 15 of the purchases had more than 4 tickets in them. They said there was massive website traffic on the Runefest homepage and the ticket sale page that greatly exceeded the number of tickets available. And they said that for the future release of the 1K tickets, to prevent scalping, there would only be one transaction of 2 tickets allowed per debit/credit card, which will include tickets purchased in the last wave. But of course now at this point, we don't know if/when there's going to be an additional 1,000 tickets because they are indefinitely postponing it. And the reason for it being postponed, if you didn't catch this already, is because Player One, the I guess it's like the company or organization that puts together Insomnia, has laid off a lot of people. Wait, no, all staff have been let go today. Keep in mind, it says several sources close to the situation. It doesn't necessarily mean it's true. This is just what we're hearing. But that means that if Insomnia can't happen, then Runefest can't happen at Insomnia. It doesn't mean that Jagex can't get their own venue, but I could only imagine the amount of work and effort and vendors and everything that has to be set up. It's got to be like a massive amount, and time is getting closer and closer because it's going to be early September for Runefest is when it was planned for. And like I said, I assume that one of the big reasons why they chose Insomnia as the venue was to save money. So if they had to get their own venue, I would assume that would mean that it would have to be more expensive, and if it'd have to be more expensive, they'd have to go back to the people that already bought tickets and charge them more, right? That's my guess at least. And then any future tickets that they were to release would also have to be more expensive. If that's the case, that Insomnia gets canceled and Jagex decides to get their own venue. I think it's still way too early to know what's going to happen, whether Insomnia is going to be able to go on or if Jagex will find their own venue. Worst possible scenario I can think of is that Runefest gets canceled and people get refunded for their tickets. That would still be real hard for people that already bought non-refundable flights, or if they lose out on money for things related to accommodations. But I think if that did happen, if Runefest was canceled, that players would still throw their own kind of get-together party somewhere in the UK. Maybe not quite the size that Runefest would be, but it would still be an excuse to meet up with all your online friends, and maybe JMods would show up to it too. I've been to the last 2 Runefests, and I would say that hanging out with people is by far the best and most important part of Runefest, and really what it boils down to, the people. You'd get your 150 British pounds, or that's about $200 US back, and maybe it's just copium, but there's plenty of other other fun ways everyone could spend that amount of money if people met up and did their own thing together. That's the worst case scenario I can see happening, but all this stuff is really not worth stressing over. Worrying about it won't change anything, and for all we know, the events might not even end up getting canceled or delayed. In fact, I'd say the best case scenario is Insomnia does get canceled and Jagex gets their own venue and they get way more tickets to release. I feel like things generally seem to have a way of working out in the end, I've kind of noticed. I think it's important to take a step back and realize that for us, it's an inconvenience to temporarily be unsure about our video game meetup, but a lot of people got laid off and lost their livelihoods, which is really sad, and hopefully they can all get back on their feet sooner than later. That is going to do it for today's video. Feel free to share in the comments anything interesting you discovered from today's update. I would say feel free to leave your opinions on the update as well, but I don't have to tell people to leave their opinions because they're going to do it either way. With that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you have a great day, and I'll see you again next time.